All right, what's happening? Y'all, your boy Rico from RicoScores, and we did it. We got the top guy on the market, the number one candidate. When was the last time the Berkeley and Gold have been able to get the number one of anything to come either be a front office member or a part of our coaching staff? Because remember back with Ron Rivera, our whole thing was this is the best we could do. And honestly, we were a little surprised that he was even willing to take on that head coaching job that he signed up for with us. But now with the whole clean sweep of the entire organization, a complete reset, now guys like Adam Peters are willing to come work for us. The Washington Commanders have officially hired assistant GM from the 49ers, Adam Peters, as our GM. I'm pretty sure he's going to run the show. I can't wait for us to get the full details of his exact title and role, because I feel like it's going to be more so like a president of football operations situation. But either way, he is the best in the business. Like, we're not even just talking about out of available GM candidates. We're talking about out of all top GMs in the NFL that are already doing their thing, including his boy John Lynch for the 49ers. You can argue Adam Peters today is already the best GM in the NFL. We're going to talk about why and how, and why this is like just a complete home run hire. Like, we just couldn't miss. Once we got it down to between Adam Peters or Ian Cunningham, we couldn't miss. Also, is Washington destined to get the top head coach available now as well? We got the top GM candidate. Are we potentially going to get the top head coaching candidate? You have Lions' Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, currently in the playoffs right now, so we can't really do much with that. But he's leading the betting odds as the favorite for the Commanders right now as our next head coach, which is really interesting. But also, Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, who's also in the playoffs, has a strong connection to Adam Peters. But at the same time, Ravens' Mike McDonald is the guy that humbled them both this past regular season. So we got to take a look at all of that. We got to take a look at what Adam Peters has done throughout his time around the NFL for the Denver Broncos, the 49ers. We're going to take a look at his draft pick history and how much work he's been putting on and how he helped and arguably led this build of what the 49ers currently are right now. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. We did it, man. We did it. Stay tuned for all of the little updates. Again, once we find out what his exact title is, his responsibility, his role, everything like that, I'm gonna do a whole nother video on that and kind of project how much power he'll have, who will work beside him, like Eugene Shannon, guys like that who may work under him, what coaching staff he may plan on putting together, all of that type of stuff. So stay tuned for that. But this is more so just a celebration and a breakdown of where he came from and why we should be excited. But again, stay tuned because we have so much more to work on. But let's go ahead and get to this video right now. Let's get it. All right, so Adam Schefter tweeted out season's first general manager hire. We are the first. We got the top guy, and we got him off the market before anybody else did. Like, before anybody else hired their lesser GM out there, a guy that's not even as qualified as Adam Peters, we were able to take him off the market. It's not even like we had to wait till the end, save the best for last. He, like, in a situation where he's like holding out to see what other teams got going on. No, he came to interview with us first as the top candidate available, at the very least top 3 candidate available, and all of those guys came to interview with us: Ian Cunningham, Alec Allaby, or anybody else that you may consider a top candidate. And he was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's hit the ground running right now. I'm not even waiting to interview other teams. I don't think Adam Peters interviewed with any other team, and I think up to the point today that we just hired Adam Peters, I don't even think Ian Cunningham has interviewed with another team yet. Both of these guys, I told y'all weeks ago, I told y'all months ago, with the way that everything was shaping up, how Josh Harris wants to run his organization, we would not be fighting over GMs. Those top GM candidates would be fighting over us. There were reports that came from the GM Summit where owners get to meet potential GM candidates, and everybody was saying that arguably Josh Harris was the most active and impressive owner there. And from there, with the cap space, with the draft capital that we have right now, I was already telling y'all that we would be the top landing spot destination for elite NFL minds. I've been screaming that for weeks. A lot of people didn't believe me. Well, here's your proof right here. There's a new day for the burgundy and gold. We are hiring 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters as our general manager. Peters won Super Bowls while working in New England and Denver, and has been in San Francisco since 2017, helping build one of the NFL's top rosters, arguably the most talented roster. I feel like the Ravens, you could say they're the roster with absolutely no holes, but if we're talking about top end talent, I would say the 49ers have the best roster in the NFL, and Adam Peters is not only a strong contributor to that, but you can also say he runs it, because John Lynch is higher than him in power and title, but Adam Peters, everybody already knows he's the guy running the show as far as player evaluation and scouting goes, watching the film and things like that. John Lynch is more so like the cap space guy and contracts and things like that. We got Adam Peters to evaluate talent and to find the best players for what we're trying to do here and to set the foundation for this future Super Bowl contender in the burgundy and gold. And again, Washington gets their top priority and the top personnel evaluator on the market. This is huge news for Josh Harris. I mean, wow, what a start to this offseason. Wow, this is crazy. We hired the best GM candidate in the entire NFL. I mean, as just step one, I mean, we got to go crazy with the head coach, right? It's no way you can go out and hire the top GM candidate and then just hire any old guy out of the head coaching options. My top three are Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, and Mike McDonald. I'm actually even more optimistic today than I already was that we're going to get at least one of those three guys, especially after this, because we were already the top landing spot for a GM and head coach. But after you get the top GM candidate, the number one GM candidate, and arguably one of the best GMs in the NFL already the day that he was hired here, now that he's officially a GM and not an assistant GM, now we're an even better head coach and landing spot than we already were before today. And I already felt like we were one of the top ones, but now getting Adam Peters solidifies that completely, man. And it's really hard to overstate how big of a deal this is, man. It's impossible. Because first of all, him leaving San Francisco wasn't even like a full-blown guaranteed thing. Like what he had going on for the 49ers, he was getting promotions after promotions. As John Lynch kept moving up the ladder, he was bringing his right-hand man, his general, his main lieutenant guy up with him. Every time John Lynch got a little bit more on his plate, so did Adam Peters. He could have stayed there and technically have been like a full-time GM. But he wanted to go elsewhere, do his own thing, get all of the credit, all of that type of stuff. And he wanted to do it with us rather than any of these other places that have GM candidate openings. I mean, a lot of people were saying the Chargers were one of the best GM candidate openings just simply because of Justin Herbert. But I said it weeks ago. They're $30 million negative in the cap space, and most of their best players are aging stars that are also have been injury prone relatively right now. There's not a lot to work with right there. It's literally just Justin Herbert. And if you want to pin somebody up directly against Justin Herbert, like, yeah, I know they got the quarterback, but we can get the quarterback with the second overall pick. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is huge, man. Most people didn't think that he would even leave San Francisco, let alone come here. And I've been telling y'all for weeks, man. And the fact that Josh Harris got him within less than a week, that we can start interviewing guys. They moved extremely quickly with this one, man. They moved fast. Shouts out to Ian Rappaport for this tweet. Adam Peters will now be tasked with deciding the structure and build leadership underneath him. He has full power. I've been telling y'all from weeks ago that whoever we bring in as the GM, he's going to run the show. And he's going to lead the effort in finding the right head coach. That's why we had to get that guy in first. And then that guy, as Adam Peters now, will now lead the search for the head coaching candidates and things like that. But that also means that he has to decide what's going on with Martin Mayhew. And I'm pretty sure Martin Mayhew was gone because he was the GM here now, even though he was kind of like a pseudo GM with Ron Rivera basically running the show with a coach-centric model, which we're not doing now. Adam Peters is running the show on the football side. My boy Eugene Shin is running the show and the analytics side. But as far as Martin Mayhew goes, I don't know where he fits in here. Is he willing to take a super demotion and just be a scout again? I highly doubt it. But it's interesting, though, because him and Adam Peters have a strong relationship from their time with the 49ers together. Remember, Martin Mayhew was working with the 49ers before he came here with us. So we'll see. Maybe Adam Peters finds find some random role for him, but I highly doubt it. But man, that was fast, man. Let's go back to how fast this was. The first interview was Tuesday. Then we interviewed other candidates on Wednesday, so we had to wait until Thursday to interview Adam Peters again for his second interview, along with Ian Cunningham. It was down to those two. And then now he's hired Friday morning? You can tell Adam Peters wanted this job, man. That's one of the most important things. Not only did we land Adam Peters, but I don't even think we had to like bribe him or anything, which is typically like the burgundy and gold way. For us to land any top guy as a player, as a coach, or front office member, there has to be some type of catch behind it. No, you clearly see that Adam Peters wanted to work with us and run this whole show. I'm super excited. Also, you got to remember that Adam Peters and Ian Cunningham, who was the other finalist, both have strong scouting backgrounds. So that means that Eugene Shin is going to remain as the highest ranking person on the analytics side, which is why I explained why Alec Hallaby, even though he's a great GM candidate, I can see him going elsewhere and having ridiculous success. But he's the numbers guy. He's the analytical guy. And we already have Eugene Shin. I felt like you needed to bring a guy in that can actually watch film, scout players, all of the X's and O's stuff, the film watching, all of that type of stuff. We're going to the combine, having your hand on your chin and seeing what's going on. Yeah, that's the guy we like. We need a guy like that because Eugene Shin already has the analytical part down. Now, we could have had like an analytical empire, basically really running an analytical monopoly if we would have had Alec Hallaby over there from the Eagles. But I definitely agree that we need to basically divide and conquer. We have the analytics guy here. We have Adam Peters to be the football guy here. And now we can run the show from every angle possible. No matter what, we have a guy elite at doing something, whatever is required to run an organization the right way. I'm super excited, man. I definitely feel like it's very noteworthy that we got our favorite candidate, man. Because first of all, again, that lets me know I was on point. Like, this is the top candidate. This is who I felt like was a top candidate. So me as like a analyst, I'm like, hey, man, I mean, I said this is the top guy and we got him. So now I feel like, hey, man, I know what I'm talking about type of thing. But also, most of us wanted him. And it's just beautiful for the Commanders, again, to say it, just to reiterate, for us to get the top guy. And he wants to come here. Like, he wanted to come here. It was him and Ian Cunningham battling it out. I was very optimistic about our chances of landing a top GM, but I didn't know we would be in a situation where literally two of the top three were finalists trying to out-interview each other. Like, and sell Magic Johnson, who came in for the second string of interviews, and selling them on a dream and things like that. But I told y'all the League of Heroes was on point. Bob Myers, Rick Spielman. Then you add Magic Johnson and Mitchell Rails and David Blitzer to the second round of interviews. I told you, man. I'm telling you, they were not playing. It was already described from reports that from people close to the situation that the interviews were literally focused on getting the fluff out of the way. Don't give me your elevator pitch. Don't come in with this premeditated speech that you have ready before we even start talking to you face to face. They literally designed the interviews to basically be like, well, how are you gonna help us for real? Like, don't come in here with the generic stuff. How do you really plan on helping us? And I love that, man. And what a difference an ownership change can make, because I highly doubt any of these top guys, Adam Peters, Ian Cunningham, Alec Hallaby, any of these guys would have even taken an interview in DC just a year ago. We're just talking about 365 days ago. I doubt they even pick up the phone to hear this offer if Dan Snyder's your owner. Highly doubt it. So, I mean, I'm telling y'all, it's a brand new day, man. It's a brand new day. Also, interesting connection here. Adam Peters, why it felt like this was destined to happen is because he has a very strong connection to Bob Myers. They both went to UCLA together, all of that type of stuff. I'm pretty sure Bob Myers was pounding on the table for us to hire his guy, Adam Peters. So if you ever wondering how Bob Myers affects everything, first of all, I've already done a whole video on Bob Myers and how, with him being an ex-agent, his connection and his healthy relationship with other agents around the NFL only helps us as becoming a better and more likely free agency destination, things like that. But also, he had a strong connection to Adam Peters and was probably one of the reasons that Adam Peters also maybe even wanted to take this job. He already has a familiar face here in Martin Mayhew and Bob Myers. You know, that helped us a little bit. But now let's talk about Adam Peters and how he's so great. Well, first of all, the Athletics, they always do an annual NFL agent survey, like where they actually interview agents around the NFL, and that's very important. I mean, I don't even know how to break down with words how important that is for you to be liked by agents. John Lynch and Adam Peters were both each named as top 5 NFL evaluators when it comes to finding talent, getting them and putting them in the right places to succeed and things like that. Scouting, film watching, all of that type of stuff. John Lynch, who was a official full-time GM. Adam Peters, I believe, was the only assistant GM in there. Everybody else was like full-time, full title, full power GMs. Adam Peters is basically like the young prodigy coming up that's ready to be the best GM in the NFL. I can't wait for him to prove it. He's that type of guy. And that survey came August 31st. Then there was a more recent survey that happened January 1st of this year, 2024. And then there were glowing reviews about him. One anonymous agent said, I think that if you're a team looking this year, to put it bluntly, you would be dumb to look anywhere else. I think he is the best in the business, unquote. And that's, again, not even just out of top GM candidates. These agents are talking about the top GMs, period. Not even the guys that were available. We're including guys that are full-blown GMs where they currently are on their current teams and things like that. Adam Peters is being pinned against the top of the top, not just GM candidates. Let's go ahead and stop that now. Let's separate that. Adam Peters is up there with the best. Also, agents voted Peters among the league's best talent evaluators and front office leaders that they trust the most. Rare mentions for non-general managers. Again, I want to emphasize these are out of general managers, and the fact that Adam Peters wasn't even a general manager yet by title, and he's up there with these guys, is phenomenal. He was also tied for first in future GM to watch, which makes a lot of sense. And then another anonymous agent said, good, bad, or ugly, Adam does it the right way. He treats people with compassion, even when it's a bad situation. He's always honest. You know where you stand. I'm surprised he has not gotten a general manager job to this point, unquote. And I'm telling y'all, those healthy relationships matter a lot. I'm warning y'all now that when it comes to being friendly and having a healthy relationship with agents, with players, this is going to be a completely different situation, man. Shouts out my boy Tan Top Podcast for this tweet, because I completely agree. There have also been multiple quotes about Adam Peters being a great guy and how he treats people so well. So going forward, teams and agents won't be confused about who to call, and they know they won't be treated poorly. They have an actual adult in the room now. Remember last year, I believe it was, last offseason, all the way back in like before the free agency, like February or March or something like that, they came out with the top free agency destinations in the NFL. We were dead last, and one of the main complaints was, first of all, bad facilities, and Josh Harris is doing everything in his power to improve what we currently have right now, but to also make sure that the next stadium is going to be the best stadium of all time by the time it's made, type of situation. Even though that Titan stadium looks great, but I think we're gonna outdo them. But most importantly, it was like travel accommodations for players, how the team treated players' families and agents, things like that. I'm not worried about that being a problem at all anymore. So I know that for a fact we're not dead last, and I think we can even within a year go from dead last to top 10 just based off of what we have going on GM and who we may potentially hire as head coach. Man, we will finally be a free agency destination, man. I don't think people understand. If you're not a burgundy and gold fan and you're just used to free agents wanting to come to your team, you don't even realize this is a concept. This is a thing you could lose. Like, just imagine trying to breathe with no air. Imagine trying to get players but free agents don't want to come. A lot of other fan bases take this for granted. They have no idea this is even a thing that could not even be a thing for a team. That has not been a thing for us. If we do get a free agent, they're going to overtax us or have some stipulations in their contract, because they're like, I know I'm already going into a bad situation, so you're going to have to pay me more to come into this bad situation than I would normally charge another team to go to their great situations. No more of that. That is dead. I'm super excited about that alone, man. And with John Lynch getting promotions year after year, again, my boy Adam Peters is moving up and up and taking on more power and responsibility. And look what he's done with the 49ers over the time that he's been there. First of all, I don't even really feel like we need to dive into too much detail. I mean, even just the trades that they've done for Christian McCaffrey. A lot of people questioned it, doubted it. Look at them now, and how even though he still hasn't managed to stay completely healthy, it's working out very well for those guys. And even Brock Purdy, the last pick of the draft, he's not the MVP candidate that people hype him up to be, but still, the fact that he's able to take this expensive sports car of talent, all pros left and right, offense and defense, pro bowlers everywhere you look, but still to find a guy with the last pick in the draft that can drive that car and at least keep it on a straight line for the most part is very significant anyway. But Since joining the 49ers as VP of Player Personnel in 2017, he has drafted 5 first-team All-Pros and Nick Bosa first round, Deebo Samuel second round, Fred Warner third round, George Kittle fifth round, and Talanoa Hufanga in the 5th round, man. Washington's last drafted All-Pro was Brandon Sheriff in 2015, and I don't even remember before that. I guess Trent Williams probably. And just let's just take a list of everything that San Francisco has added since just 2017 alone, man. George Kittle again in the 5th round, Fred Warner 3rd. Don't forget Dre Greenlaw as well. Brock Purdy in the 7th, Elijah Mitchell in the 6th, Ronnie Bell in the 7th, and Lenore in the 5th round, man. I mean, the way that he's able to find extremely talented players, or at the very least scout the right guys and put them in the right situations to succeed, because everybody I just named is 3rd round or later. If you want to throw Deebo Samuel in there as a 2nd rounder, you can, but everybody I just named, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Brock Purdy, Elijah Mitchell, Ronnie Bell, and Mr. Lenore, all of those guys are 3rd round or later. 2 of them in Brock Purdy and Ronnie Bell are 7th round. Hufanga and George Kittle are 5th round. Dre Greenlaw's 5th round. Lenore's 5th round. And Elijah Mitchell is 6th. Like, the way that Adam Peters finds talent even beyond the 1st round is arguably second to none, man. The 49ers, you could argue, have hit on draft picks outside of day 2. These day 3 guys better than at a higher rate than any other team in the NFL since Adam Peters has been over there for the 49ers. And don't forget, Adam Peters, 49ers is not his only great job. Like, he's done this twice. This is not his first time, so that's why another reason why I'm very optimistic about him coming here to do it for us, because he did it for the Broncos. He won a Super Bowl with them. He arguably built that Super Bowl 50 roster that carried Peyton Manning, who was throwing a wobbly ball, could barely throw it more than 20 yards down the field, and we already know he's not mobile. He arguably built that roster right there, Super Bowl 50, and then he came over to help Shanahan and Lynch rebuild the 49ers, because again, Shanahan and Lynch don't have much experience with player evaluation, scouting, film watching, the X's and O's and things like that. As far as finding the right talent, that was literally like Adam Peters' main job, his priority when he was over there. Shannon Sharp and John Lynch focused on other things more so. They also helped with player evaluation as well. But Adam Peters ran a player evaluation part. So to win a Super Bowl and build that Super Bowl 50 roster for the Broncos, then to go to another organization and help them build it from the ground up and look at them, arguably the most talented team in the NFL, I have all of the faith in the world and optimism that he can come here and do it as well. And don't even forget too, because you could also give him a lot of credit for him being a scout for the Patriots from 2003 to 2008. There's a reason he was able to go from being a scout for the Patriots 2003 to 2008 to having the roles that he had for the next teams that he went to, immediately becoming like one of the lead guys and GM talent evaluator type of guys. He put in work for the Patriots, and a lot of people took notice, man. Everywhere he goes, he's been a winner. And then, like I said in previous videos, with Eugene Shin completely running the show on the analytics side, we just needed the guy that scouts, watches film, and successfully evaluates talent, man. You can easily argue nobody is better than Adam Peters in this business. I'm super excited, man, because we have the GOAT of analytics on one side doing his thing. Again, look at what Eugene Shin did with the Ravens, Jaguars, and Dolphins, how bad they were, well, especially in the Dolphins and Jaguars case, and how great they were. Really up until like 3 weeks ago, I think all of those teams were the number 1 seeds in their respective divisions. The Jaguars folded, Dolphins folded a little bit, but they still managed to make the playoffs, and the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. Eugene Shin has a lot to do with that. I've already done an over 30-minute breakdown on Eugene Shin alone, and the Ravens even admitted, even since Eugene Shin has been gone, they still use a lot of his analytical models to help them find the right players, to make the right decisions in games, basically to help them win and become who they are right now. That's who we have on the analytical side. Now we have the GOAT of player evaluation doing his thing. Oh man, I'm telling y'all, man. And then on top of that, he has a healthy relationship with all of the agents and players and things like that. Top free agency destination on the way. Top head coaching destination on the way as well. Speaking of that, you just had Jeremy Fowler tweet, some league sources are watching a potential pairing of Lions defensive coordinator Ben Johnson with newly appointed GM Adam Peters in Washington. Commanders now have a lengthy head coaching search ahead, but Johnson will be coveted by many. And there will be a lot of competition, but Ben Johnson was just asked recently, either yesterday or the day before that, in his press conference with the Lions alongside Anthony Glenn, who's another potential head coaching candidate out there. They asked him, do you plan on taking every interview that was requested? And he basically said, nah. So he probably has his eyes on exactly where he wants to go. And I would not be surprised if with one of them, because I've been glass half full and optimistic for the past few weeks and couple of months, even with as bad as the season has been. And look how it's turned out. They've even exceeded my ridiculous expectations. I don't see how we can't already be optimistic that Ben Johnson probably wants to come here. As bad as we want him, he probably wants us as well. He already turned down the Panthers head coaching job last year. He's probably turned down others as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we're the only one that gets an interview from him or some situation like that, and we end up landing him at the very least. So here comes Ben Johnson potentially, or maybe even Bobby Slowick, because again, he has a connection with Adam Peters stemming all the way back from 2017 through 2022 before he became the offensive coordinator for the Texans. And you never know, Adam Peters probably helped find Bobby Slowick and give him the opportunity that he had for the 49ers, which catapulted him to the Texans. So maybe Bobby Slowick is going to want to come here. I mean, nobody imagined that Adam Peters and Ian Cunningham and arguably even Alec Hallaby and some other GM candidates were fighting each other to come work for the Commanders. We may have a similar situation with Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, and Mike McDonald fighting to become our head coach. Rather than us fighting for them, they're fighting for us. I wouldn't be, nobody saw it. I mean, I told y'all it would probably happen with the GM situation. People doubted that. Why wouldn't this happen as well, man? I'm telling you. But all I know is whoever we want, we're going to get. That's how it's been going so far. Why wouldn't that trend continue? We're finally going to be a top free agency and coach destination. I know I keep saying it, but I'm super happy. We about to assemble the Avengers to bring the burgundy and gold back to its glory days, man. It's so beautiful. My Georgia Bulldogs are dominant on one side in the NCAA college football, and now my Commanders are about to be the same thing at the NFL side. Boy, what a time for me right now. Shouts out my boy Big Doug, because he's also a Georgia Bulldog and Commanders fan as well. Happy days for us, man. Let's get busy, man. #1 recruiting class for Georgia, and we about to be right back to winning that championship. Nick Saban retires, and then my burgundy and gold are getting Adam Peters and potentially Ben Johnson. Stop playing. And don't forget that we're about to have the 2nd overall pick. So we have the potential to land a top quarterback in Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels. One of them if we want them. And you never know, maybe we are aggressive enough to trade up to the #1 overall pick to get the guy that we really want, which may end up being Caleb Williams, who does want to come back to DC. Remember, on his Instagram story, after Dan Snyder finally was let go, we forced him to sell the team to Josh Harris and everything. He was super excited and put something on his story like, let's go. And he already said he didn't want to play for one of those NFL teams out there, the Panthers or like the Bears or something. But he ain't say nothing about not playing for the Commanders. And he's from DC, born and raised and all of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to play for us. He may even, help us out, Caleb Williams. Let the Bears know. Pull an Eli Manning. I will not play for y'all, so don't even draft me. Just let me go to the Commanders with that 2nd overall pick. Help us out, Caleb Williams. Also, on top of that 2nd overall pick, Adam Peters inherits a roster with 49 players under contract. Again, we do have the most cap space in the NFL, but at the same time, one of the main reasons we do is because a lot of our starters are unrestricted free agents. The linebacker group, the entire linebacker group, other than Jamin Davis, who's on IR and has all of this legal trouble, he may not even be available next regular season, to be honest with you. All of our starting edge rushers were either traded away or they're unrestricted free agents. You have your starting, arguably your best corner in Kendall Fuller. You have arguably your best safety in Cameron Curl. Antonio Gibson, your two-headed running back, the second head on that running back monster that we have between him and Brian Robinson. Your starting kicker, Joey Sly. Your starting punt returner, Jamison Crowder. Jeremy Reeves, your all-pro special teamer who's been pretty much on IR this entire season. Curtis Samuel, your most efficient wide receiver. Terry McLaurin's still our best wide receiver, but and that's just a start. So yeah, we do have the most cap space in the NFL, and that's probably one of the main reasons why Adam Peters wanted to come get this job, because he can work his magic immediately. And we have ways to where if you restructure contracts or cut Charles Leno or Logan Thomas or anybody else, we could gain even more cap space. I did a full breakdown on that and how we could easily get up to like $120 million of cap space and have the most cap space in the NFL by far if you really want to go that way. So you have the money to go get a Brian Burns who's unhappy and is feeling unwanted by the Panthers right now. Hey man, we know where you'll feel wanted over here. If you want to attack offensive line, linebacker, edge rusher, whoever in free agency, we have all of the capital to do so, and I feel like that's just a match made in heaven. 2nd overall pick, most cap space in the NFL, and Adam Peters is your GM to put it all together. Come on down. I honestly don't see how we can miss. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, man. I really appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all stay tuned. As y'all can tell, I'm super excited. I really want to Adam Peters, and the fact that we got him is crazy. So make sure you stay tuned because I'm going to keep y'all updated on everything going on with the Commanders, no matter how small or even how big, with this story like this right now. So stay tuned. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on literally everything, and I'm coming out with like 2-3 videos a day at this point. I'm out.